Thanks for joining us here again at Texas Values. This is Jonathan Sines. I'm president of the organization, and this is a continuation of our series of videos wrapping up the 83rd legislative session. And we're honored today to be here with State Senator Dan Patrick. Senator Patrick.
Always good to see you, Jonathan.
Good to be with you again. Really a lot of issues that you were involved in and took leadership on this session, very important. We know in the past you've distinguished yourself quite well in the legislature and the Senate, most recently on the sonogram bill in the 2011 session.
Which our opponents say is going to save 15,000 lives this year. I mean, that was the headline.
Yeah.
And that's when your opponents say that, which was our hope, 80,000 abortions a year in Texas, if 1 in 5 or more women would change their mind after seeing the sonogram. So the opposition is saying this looks like the number. We don't have the official statistics, but I'm very excited that we improved women's health care, and I'm very excited that we might save 12 or 15,000 lives.
Yeah, that just is incredible. And in your fourth session, continue to take these leadership positions that some people think are hard to take, or that seem like, are you really going to get there? And you continue to deliver incredible results. And so this session, here you are, the chair of education, a very important committee in the Senate. And so a lot of opportunity to work on issues of education that people on both sides of the aisle care about, but then some very important issues that conservatives have been concerned about on the education issue, particularly CSCOPE and Common Core. Talk to us a little bit about what you did this session on that.
Sure. I was thinking about this bracelet that my older children, they're older now, gave me when I was elected. The Serenity Prayer, which a lot of people know. Lord, grant me the serenity to know the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, so far, I haven't needed serenity because what we've tackled, we have so far been able to accomplish. We started with putting In God We Trust in the Senate chamber. We followed up with Debbie Riddle, putting Under God in the state pledge. We followed up with the sonogram bill, and this session we followed up with a series of bills in education to lead with values, and also on specific bills. Education very quickly, and so many bills passed. Many think that this is the biggest year of reform for education ever. And we did it in a bipartisan way, which was positive as well, as we led with conservative principles. One is, with Dan Huberty, we passed a bill, House Bill 462, that keeps Common Core or any federal mandated curriculum out of our schools unless the legislature votes to accept it, because currently one individual could, or a small group of people. So this secures it for the legislature, which means the people have direct access to their representatives to keep federal standards out of our classroom. Number two, we took CSCOPE out. CSCOPE that had a lesson this big on Islam and this big on Christianity, based on testimony. We took the CSCOPE lesson plans, and we're going to continue to monitor that program, but we took the lesson plans out, which at the beginning of session no one thought would happen, and the CSCOPE board finally voted 18-2 themselves to take it out because there were so many problems. And then our reform bills, I believe it's a civil rights issue, it's a moral issue that every child has an opportunity for great education. 43% of all children born in poverty die in poverty. The dividing line of living the American dream is a quality job, and you can't get a quality job without a quality education. So the reforms that we enacted through HB 5, first of all, it will reduce standardized testing, which I know a lot of parents and teachers are supportive of. It will regrade our school districts from A through F instead of exemplary, unacceptable, acceptable, so parents really know the quality of their school districts. And it is changing the curriculum, still rigorous curriculum, but putting more focus on career so students can graduate heading to college or go get a job, or both. We have about a 20% dropout rate statewide, 20% of the students graduating with a minimal degree. We need to address that. In our inner cities, Jonathan, our dropout rate can be as high as 50% in some minority communities. So that's a moral issue.
Well, and being a senator from the fourth largest city in the country, a lot of inner city schools and a lot of the issues that you're addressing with this legislation are happening right in the greater Houston area, and so I know people will be thankful for that. And we were very thankful at Texas Values that you were a part of our Faith and Family Day at the Capitol.
It's great.
Gave a great speech, and I know a lot of people from your district were a part of that event. And if we'll step back a minute on the CSCOPE issue, you touched on this about a lot of people didn't believe it could happen. The hearing that happened at the beginning of the session, I believe, was not even connected to a bill. It was a special hearing on the issue I mean, I felt like it was historic. That was one of the most powerful hearings I've seen to hold government out of control accountable.
Well, what's interesting, Jonathan, is it was my first official hearing as chair. We'd had a joint hearing on school safety before that, but this was the first official hearing. And I think the other 8 members of the committee, because a lot of people didn't know much about CSCOPE, they were thinking, is this the new conservative Tea Party guy leading what are we doing here? Because they had heard the headlines of Tea Party patriots being called terrorists, of the big lessons on Islam and small and Christianity. But my focus was on how this program was created, what the lesson plans really were. In that hearing, we discovered there was a lesson plan that taught middle school students how to draw a flag, a communist flag, which was unacceptable. And so by the end of that hearing, all the members of the committee realized we had an issue there. But the real credit to take CSCOPE out of the lesson plans, out of the schools, goes to the courageous teachers who actually had in the contract, if they revealed the contents, could face criminal penalties. Unbelievable. We've ended that. The courageous teachers that stepped forward, the parents, the community activists who cared about this, who brought all this to us. It would have never have happened without the people. So it was a people's victory.
Absolutely. And there was so much that would exposed about the process side, the structure, and really calling into question the legality of what was happening. And I think that opened up even more eyes to say, wait a minute, there's much more here than we realized. I don't see how any of that would have happened without your leadership, and I think that just really underscored for people to get an understanding of how important it is to have the right individuals as chair of certain committees, and when they are in that position and there's an issue that's a critical need, it can be addressed. And so that really set the tone, and I didn't think, I think a lot of people felt like it would have been a lot to take down CSCOPE, and it was gradual. It started with that hearing, and then we got to the end of the session. As you said, they were holding up the white flag saying, we give. We give. And we're going to now ask for an audit of the 20 regions. One of the things that I was able to accomplish at the end was committees have subpoena power. We never do it. But I threatened a subpoena for all the financial records because I'd asked for them and asked for them and asked for them and never received them. And after the threat of a subpoena by our committee, I received about 5,000 financial documents. So we're going to ask the state auditor. I think the Attorney General, Greg Abbott, has been great working with us. We've gotten a lot of help from his office, and I want to give him a lot of credit and staff as well. So we'll move forward on that. One more education bill is the Dwayne Bohack, Robert Nichols, Dan Patrick bill to put Merry Christmas and Christmas trees and Christmas season back in our schools. And I just love that bill. Well, we are very thankful for your support on that legislation. That's something that our organization has a lot of history of interacting in. And so, you know, when Representative Bohack came up with this idea, he was addressing a concern in his own district. But, you know, this is something that we've dealt with on the legal side and the policy side for years. There's litigation in the Plano School District right now on this issue. And it's unfortunate. I mean, at one point, I think Santa Claus was threatened from being banned from a school in Fort Worth. They got that issue worked out. But this continues to happen even though the law is very clear and school districts overreact. And so to the degree of people feeling uncomfortable just saying, Merry Christmas. I know. In fact, you're wearing kind of a red and white tie today. You know, in some schools that'd be considered, you couldn't wear that during the Christmas season. Red and white might give it. We have had situations where the colors have been targeted, where red and green are not allowed. We were very excited to work with Representative Bohack on this bill. Glad to have your support. Absolutely. Glad that Senator Nichols did a great job with the bill as well. And you know, the governor should be signing it any day now, as you would expect. Bipartisan support on that bill as well. Yeah, in fact, a lot of our education bills this session, almost everything we passed out of the Senate passed out with 28 to 31 votes. I think a lot of members in both parties recognize while we have, you know, we have 10% of all school-age children in America go to school in Texas. We have 5.7 million students. That's 5 million in traditional public schools, 300,000 homeschooled in Texas, 250,000 in private, and about 150,000 in charters. And our charter bill that the governor will sign also shortly, that's going to lift the cap on charters to create more opportunities for the 100,000 on the wait list, give school districts an opportunity to work under charter rules to create campus charters. I'm very excited about that. And there's just a recognition finally. And look, whenever you're in education, and my wife, who was a former school teacher, said, why do you want to chair that committee? Because at the end, no one will like you. The superintendents, the PTA, the teachers, because you can't make everyone happy. And at the end of the day, I actually think that there was a lot that the superintendents liked, a lot that the teachers liked, a lot that the parents liked.
And even the teacher unions supported our teacher evaluation bill and a few our other bills. Like they support the keeping Common Core out.
Yeah.
The teacher unions. So this was an interesting session, and I don't know what the future holds, but I'm real proud of what we did.
Well, we're proud of you as well.
Thank
I
you.
know your district is, and great job at chairing the Senate Education Committee. And let's finish off with what is tied into the education
Yes.
issue. The leadership that you took, which was part of your being in the chair for Senate Education, was putting in a request to the Attorney General's office to find out if school districts that were recognizing and creating domestic partnerships and using government entities to do that, if that was legal and if that was constitutional. You, being the chair of Senate Education, had the ability and the power to do that. We came to you with the request. Other people made the request. You responded and stood up and said, yeah, this is important to do. And at the end of the day, Attorney General came out with an opinion on this issue and said emphatically that domestic partnerships are unconstitutional.
Yeah, I was very concerned about that. And one thing you all have to know is Jonathan, I've known him for a long time, pushes the envelope for values. I don't consider pushing the envelope. I consider doing the right thing, and I'm always happy to help him do that. And so we both push the envelope, and only chairman can ask for a legal opinion from the AG, and so that opinion came down saying that schools cannot do this. And look, the Constitution is clear. In Texas, marriage is defined between a man and a woman. Period. End of story. It passed with a high percentage of Republicans and Democrats, and that's the opinion we wanted at the end of the day. You know what is interesting, and I'm again most proud of, because everything it was teamwork this session, is that in working with Jimmy Don Aycock in the House on a number of these issues, we said we don't care if it's a House bill or a Senate bill if it's the right bill. We said to our committee, let's make sure we do the right thing. If you do the right thing, people will follow. But what we demonstrated was that conservatives, and I'm usually viewed as the most or in the top 3 most conservatives in the Senate.
I think that's safe to say.
Safe to say, is that we can lead, we can get bipartisan support, and we can govern.
Yep.
And that's what I feel good about, because at the end of the day, our country and our state, our foundation is our Bible, our foundation is the Judeo-Christian ethic, our foundation, that's who we are as a people. Our foundation is marriage between a man and a woman. And if you stay on those values and you move forward and you listen and take input, it's amazing what can happen. So I appreciate all your support and help. It's invaluable.
Absolutely.
Folks, those of you who support Jonathan and similar groups have to understand that your role is vital, because the opposition out there is mighty. And so it's very helpful to us for the research that's done, just the prayers that are given, the moral support that's given, and the legislative support that's given, the testimony, the people that come in and make the case. So do not take your role lightly. You're very important in this process, so we appreciate it.
Well, we are very thankful for Senator Patrick's leadership.
Thank you.
We were thankful and encouraged to be able to stand with you on the CSCOPE issue,
Yes.
on the Common Core issue, the Merry Christmas bill, the domestic partnership issues. And I think this demonstrates as well that people on both sides of the aisle, but particularly conservatives, do care about education.
Yep.
It matters
It matters.
what students learn in schools, and it matters what they learn about respect to the Constitution, as we saw with the domestic partnership issue. And so I know there'll be challenges ahead of us that we'll continue to tackle, but we'll continue to want to interact with you,
Sure.
and for more people to understand the type of leadership that you take, how important it is, and how when you have good leadership, you can get great results. So, Senator Patrick, thank you
you.
so much for your time.
Thank
we
you.
look forward to visiting with you again.
Thank you.